Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome to DOdaily. Des here, live, ready to answer your questions. Of course, for this week's Thursday Thoughts episode. Really looking forward to getting on today. Really enjoy this DOdaily. Really changes the level of seriousness a little bit, doesn't it? From all the things I'm talking about in the week, trying to encourage activity, trying to encourage people to be positive. Of course, people don't always want to hear that, but that's the point of what I'm doing. It's to try and sort of keep passing on that message in a relatable and friendly way. But on a Thursday, you get a chance to ask some questions. Let me know what you're thinking. Nice to see you on board tonight, Dor. Got any questions for me? If you're watching like Dor, please let us know if you've got anything to ask. I'll do my best. Of course, I've got some sort of predetermined questions, some that the guys have sent in throughout the week. Really appreciate receiving those. Without those, I couldn't really sort of answer anything. I couldn't do the Thursday Thoughts episode. So it's great that they're coming in. Kind of running base today. That's not a problem. Of course, I look for questions on all different things. Whatever people want to sort of put my way. All those serious subjects I talk about during the week. It's absolutely fine if people want to ask how I'm feeling. How they relate to myself. What I can do to sort of support what I say, support other people, and all that. But today, like I said, there's a lot around running. Dor's actually posted his question, and I will come back to that a little later. I thought I got a feeling there might be something along those lines during today's episode. So looking forward to answering that. But before I get started, before I tuck into those, what I will say is feeling pretty good about what I'm doing. As ever on a Thursday, I've just finished a session coaching the guys. That was really, really good tonight. Real good effort, lots of brilliant sort of running efforts, and it inspired me. Unfortunately, because of the injury, I'm still looking on a little bit, getting involved where I can, but it's really inspired me to give it a go again this week. The guys absolutely smashed it, and that's really picked me up. I'm absolutely fine. Kind of said yesterday, I'm working through things sort of one day at a time at the moment. A lot to do. Trying to keep myself busy, but distracted from all the depressing things. Trying to sort of thrive throughout whatever's out there. Keep being positive and enthusiastic, and not get too bogged down. There's so much to get sort of upset about, watching the news and seeing what's going on in the world. It's a case of sort of pushing on. After last week on my own sort of personal issues and feeling sad about those kind of things, it's just for me, I'm kind of switching into that mode where I know if I don't do anything about it, if I don't take things one day at a time, I'll get a little bit fed up. I'll get a little bit fed up with my injury, and then everything kind of come tumbling in. At the moment, I'm using what I say, going back to the things I've done in the past, and working from them. And that's just about sort of pushing on with my work, organising, planning, lots to arrange. It's good that we're getting a lot of running questions at the moment, because there's a lot of big running events coming up for me personally as well. And whilst the training is not going fantastic, it's a good reminder that other people are starting to really sort of switch into it and think about what they've got to do. So it's keeping me focused, it's keeping me busy, and like I say, it's just stopping me from getting too fed up about that situation, and when I can sort of switch back, remember, it gives me a chance to then start building again. I always say when you're at that point, when you're on the brink almost like that, don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely fine. But when you just sort of teetering with a few frustrations, it's important to really sort of click in, take it one day at a time. Yesterday, the message was a bit different from the day before, because that's life, isn't it? It's not always the same. It's a little bit of a roller coaster. So it's just about getting through. And that's what we're doing. We're getting through another week. despite what I've just said there, lots of positive stuff happening. The coaching, as I said, has really inspired me, really put me in a good mood, and when you can take something off what other people are doing, it's about finding that inspiration, isn't it? And that's an example of finding it from wherever I can today. It far outweighs the frustration of not being able to take part myself. So it's really important to just keep looking on, keep searching for it, keep searching for that positivity, and believe me, you'll find it. So, as ever, I'll get into the questions. We start with last week's throwback. How are you feeling about life getting back to normal? When I spoke in recent weeks, haven't I, about sort of the wave of emotions I've experienced personally. Initially, the excitement, of being able to do all these things, and then almost the anxiety from being a little bit overwhelmed, everything coming back at once, people not quite knowing how to respond to it, to each other, to me, who's somebody who puts stuff out there for them to take part in. There was all those feelings, then feeling great again, then sort of everything getting too normal again, and people are forgetting what we have to do, and last week I just sensed that things have really sort of picked up a lot, and that's why I wanted to ask this question. I wanted to sort of thrive on that positivity, because for me personally, things are really, really getting back to normal. When we're being distracted, whilst I used it in a negative way earlier in the week, when we're being distracted by other things than COVID, and that's not always a great thing, as I mentioned earlier in the week. When we're being distracted by other things, it means it's kind of being forgotten about a little bit. We have to find ways to forget the negative stuff. We start remembering after the negative stuff, if you get what I'm saying. But it was just the fact that everybody's starting to do things. I've done lots of things recently. Been in football stadiums quite a lot, big arenas with lots of people in, seeing them quite full, and just going out and people not as cautious around each other, And whilst we do have to retain some cautiousness, it's important just to keep that feeling real, isn't it? Just keep sort of coming back together, enjoying each other, because we all moaned and complained when we didn't have it. So now it's the time to really, really enjoy it. And I got a few responses as ever. John says that he's being cautious. He's doing what he does. He gets out and does his activity, but he doesn't really want to go to nightclubs. Although he did put in brackets in response to that it's probably a bit too old for that anyway. His words, not mine. So nightclubs has been a big one, hasn't it? And of course, it's so important for young people to sort of use those environments to develop and sort of meet each other and communicate. And it's been something that's been really missed. Like John, probably don't go to nightclubs very often myself, so it's not something I particularly miss. But you can understand the sort of the frustration for some of not having that. Kay says she's getting more and more used to it. She's really starting to sort of enjoy the things she can do again. Kate goes to the theatre quite a lot with her mum. She really, really enjoys that, and she's been able to do things like that, just like me in the football. Again, there's everybody who's answered this question says there's an element of caution there. She'll wear a mask and do what she has to. Dawn says pretty much the same. She's really enjoying it. She thought she'd be really, really worried about the situation, but as time goes by, it's just easing a little bit. Ian says he's just glad he can go back to the football, and he's glad he can do all the things he was doing in terms of activity, go out when he wants and enjoy the spaces he wants to. And that's great anyway, isn't it? For a while now, we've had a lot of chance to get out in open space and enjoy what we've got. And when it comes to activity, and it's of course something I encourage, we've had this all the way through. What I do want to sort of reiterate on this is it's important not to forget how much activity some of us built up. I've spoken the last couple of weeks how I've got to get more walking back into my routine. especially because I can't run, but just in general, the mental benefits it gave me getting out around the river, whether it be in the morning, late at night, and we all sort of took it because it was an allocation at a point. We made sure we took advantage of it. So I believe we've got to absolutely do that again, and keep using all those good things. And that's something I've reiterated sort of all the way through the pandemic. Work off those positive, work off the things that did work, and remember why they worked so much when it was a difficult time. It doesn't mean it can't work just as well when things don't appear to be so difficult. All of a sudden, one feeling I do get from this is the world has become very materialistic again. We don't need that because we've got this again. But that's not how it works, is it? Me personally, I've learned over sort of quite a few years now that there's certain things I don't need, which I thought I needed. Never been particularly materialistic. But when you completely forget about all those and you rely on money to be happy and having this and that, you're not really that happy deep down, are you? So it's important to remember how the things you enjoy, the things you get so much from it can make such a difference, particularly to our mental health, particularly to our physical health as well, in the case of activity. So thanks for the feedback there. Really sort of enjoyed that. There's lots of positives. That's all I hope to do with the feedback, is just kind of create a positive conversation, get people involved, get people responding to what we do. And there was plenty of that there, and it could have been a really negative one, but thankfully people have got on board with what I was trying to do. So moving into the questions. Question 1. Spoken a lot in recent weeks about all these races that I'm worrying about in terms of my training and not having done enough and being injured. But there is lots of races, and there's lots of things that have been put back. The reason I've got lots together, I wouldn't normally plan so many so close, but because of the loosening of restrictions, these races didn't want to cancel and completely lose out. So they've all come back at once. They're all catching up from previous years. And I think in the next 2 months, I've got 3 half marathons and a marathon. Again, I keep reiterating, I don't know whether I'm going to do all those, but I've got the Great North Run, I've got the Manchester Marathon, I've got the Robin Hood Half Marathon and the Reading Half Marathon, which is a stadium finish, which is always epic. What I will say, I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit here. I'm going to tell you why I really enjoy all of them, and I really want to compete in all of them. To be honest, the first one is the Great North Run. Is probably one of my most favourite events. Everybody knows how popular it is. Whether you're there in person, which I've been lucky enough to experience, I've got my half marathon PB up there, feels amazing. The crowds are incredible. Or whether you're watching it on television, it's one of the real highlights of the year. The Great North Run, everybody knows what it is, knows when it is, knows where it is. It is slightly different this year, so I'm looking forward to a different route. They've never really done that before. So it'll be unique, if anything. Of course, they're taking certain measures around the number of people. I think 60,000 people do the Great North Run, which is an incredible amount. And the goodwill and the good spirit from the people watching as well is just incredible. So that's definitely one of my favourites in general. Really looking forward to it. It is the first one, so it's the one I'm most apprehensive about, but it'll be a good test of what I'm doing. After that, 2 weeks after that, I've got Robin Hood Half Marathon. I'm an ambassador for the event. It's literally 40 yards that way to the start line. I live so close to it. It was my first half marathon. It was where I met Kay. It's got lots of emotional ties. I get to run around the streets of the world's best city. How could I not be looking forward to that? I think this will be my 5th time I've done it. And again, and then I've got all the Do Running guys who get involved. It's always like our home half marathon. We're based just 50 yards that way, so it's all amongst everything I do. We have a party afterwards. Really looking forward to that. It's almost just the big occasion locally. So again, it's absolutely fantastic. How can I split those two? 2 weeks after that, there's a theme occurring here, isn't there? I've got the Manchester Marathon, which is the one I'm kind of dreading in many ways because of the distance. Said so many times, even if you're a runner, so to speak, and you can sort of dig in and get through these things, you can quite often almost blag a half marathon. You might not do it in the time you want, you might not feel great whilst you're doing it, but you can get through it. A full marathon, yeah, you absolutely can't blag a full marathon. You've got to put the training in, you've got to put in all the hard work, all the hard miles. Just been talking to the guys I've been coaching, they're really sort of apprehensively looking forward to it, but it's a case of keep putting those miles in, keep backing up your runs, keep sort of time on your feet is important, working to different sort of methods and theories, so personally, like I said, that's the one I'm sort of worried about. I'd love to be able to do it, and the reason on the other hand I'm really looking forward to it is it'll be the third time I've done the Manchester Marathon, my hat-trick time, and I never really had any sort of aspirations to do it, but I picked up a place on my first one, and then I went back and did it because I missed out on London, and it'll be my 7th marathon, I think. And that, for me, as somebody who only took up running to lose a bit of weight 6 years ago, it was an incredible feat, really, all the half marathons on top of that. I'm not sure how many of those I've done, probably around 20 odd, but it's incredible to think, and to think I've done Manchester 3 times when I never thought I'd do one. I've also done London and Berlin and the virtual London Marathon. So there's lots of sort of, well, the others are absolutely sort of massive, huge marathons, but Manchester's just got that little special place now. The first one I did was in memory of a guy called Al Jamie, who I base a lot of the running club stuff around, trying to create a legacy on someone that unfortunately took his own life. So there's a lot of sort of history there for me, a lot of memories. So I'm desperate to sort of really pick up the training and get involved. And then, like I say, we've got Reading, being an ambassador for the Robin Hood event. It's their sister event, so I get sort of associated with that as well. Never done it, never been down there. It's a stadium finish now, and I've done a few stadium events in the past, stadium finish events. I've done the Olympic Park 10K where you actually ran on the track and you finished at the finish line in the stadium. That was an awesome experience. One or two others I've done where there's been that kind of feel about it. So really looking forward to giving Reading a try. And again, the Do Running guys are coming down. We're making a bit of a weekend of it. Not too much, not too heavy, but going down as a group, staying over. We'll get food and drinks beforehand, and then drinks after, in the afternoon before we come home. And it's in the middle of November, so hopefully I'll be a lot better by then, and I can perhaps sort of feel more myself while I'm doing it. So there's lots to go out there. I spoke a lot there about my favourites, but again, great events to be involved in, and lots of reasons to be excited about them. Hopefully, like I say, I click into gear and I can tick them off one by one. If I can't do them the way I planned, if I have to take the pace off and do them in a different fashion, I've said many times, sometimes we go into these things all too serious, we go in, put our head down, get on with it, get it done, look at what, see how quick we've done it. I can actually, if I'm not feeling fantastic, I can pick my head up, take it all in, taking the experience, taking where I am, and really enjoy it in that sense. And that's how I'll try and sort of spin a positive into it if I can actually take part. So thanks for the question. Really enjoyed that. I love every event I do, to be honest. That's a really difficult one to pick a favourite. The only one I would pick a favourite for, is the London Marathon. And unfortunately, I'm not down to do that this year. Thanks for the question. Moving on to question 2. This is from Charlotte. A new viewer, new person asking a question. How many times a week should somebody building up to 5K be aiming to run? Well, basically, when people are looking to do 5K, most of the time they'd follow couch to 5K programs. Not necessarily, whilst I do deliver those, I've delivered those locally, and I work through the coaching and building people up, regardless of what distance they're starting out at. Don't necessarily believe couch to 5K is always the answer. The couch to 5K programs tend to last 8 to 12 weeks. People will run 3 times a week. When I started running, I just went out every weekday, did a little bit more each week. Started out doing just 1 mile and then building it up, 1.1 mile, 1.2 miles. The rule of thumb is if you are building up in any distance, is only to do 10% more mileage a week. So if you did 5 miles this week, do 5.5 miles next week, no matter how many times you run. Of course, rest days are important. I do also run in streaks on the other hand. So I tend to feel, when I'm feeling strong, I run every day, try and keep on top of things that way. It doesn't necessarily have a negative effect on me. But starting out, you probably run, in all honesty, 2 or 3 times a week, that at a quite comfortable pace, like I say, keep the mileage low. And it's just a case of working at it. It's like anything, isn't it? You can't just go out and do it. That's where we trip ourselves up, isn't it? Trying to push ourselves too much, trying too hard. If there's lots of great couch to 5K apps out there, there's lots of running sessions you can attend if you're local to Nottingham, or local groups to wherever you are, where there's people on hand to really support you through it. And it's just a case of, like I say, just working at it bit by bit. All I ever did, when I went out around me 1 mile or 2 miles or whatever, every time I went for a run, I tried to run to the next lamppost before I stopped running, and that's how I just kept pushing myself. I was determined all the time to run to the next lamppost. As soon as I got there, everything was a bonus. That's what I thought in my head. So naturally, if you run the same distance 5 times, on the 5th time, you're going to run it faster, and that's how I built. And then eventually, I think I got to sort of 2.5 miles, and I decided to go along to park run. And it absolutely killed me the first time, but I ran it all, I got through it. And then you've got time, then you've got something to work with, and then you go again the following week, and you use whatever running you're doing during the week, and it all builds up just nicely. Like I say, couch to 5Ks are fantastic, and they are the answer for a lot of people, particularly if you're on your own doing it and you don't quite fancy a group. Like I say, you can get apps where you can listen to what they're saying, run, walk. I know when I work with somebody one-on-one, again, I'm not being sort of flippant or arrogant with this, I know I can get people doing it a lot quicker than 8 weeks, just having somebody there talking to you, being that encouragement, not shouting, not sort of pushing people too hard too soon, but I know when you've got people around you, it really works. And of course, that's why I'm a firm believer in running clubs and coaching sessions and such things like that. But good luck with that, and hopefully you get there soon enough. What I will say about 5Ks, when you do get there, there's one question I do get a lot. I'm just going to throw this in, is how do I run a quicker 5K? The answer is, and I get this from experienced runners, people who have been running a long time. My answer to that one is, and any coach, any sort of professional will tell you the same, is run more 5Ks. The guys who tend to run longer and faster at times, they kind of forget that all that distance is taking a lot out of them. If you want to sort of crack a 5K PB at a park run, for example, or at any other event, you've just got to do a lot more 5Ks, because it's that thing I said to you before. If you run consistently the same distance from the first time to the last time, it's 5, 10, 20, however many times you do it, naturally you're going to get fitter, stronger, healthier. You're going to get used to running that distance. Whereas when you're mixing it up, varying it, it's doing different things, isn't it? It's supporting you in different ways. It might be taking more out your legs, it might be taking more out your lungs. But if you're doing the same thing, and it's the same thing in life, isn't it? If you do something once or 10 times, you're going to be better at it on the 10th time. So if you want a quicker 5K, get out there and do more 5Ks. Stop doing those long miles. But I'm a little bit guilty of that myself, so I'm not criticising too much. But thanks for the question, and like I say, good luck. Moving on to question 3. This is from Melody. This is somebody who came to the group recently who's really sort of taking it on board and enjoying what we do. And she says, have I got time to train for a half marathon, which takes place at the end of September? You've heard me already talking about the Robin Hood half marathon there. And Melody's wondering whether she's got time to do it. What I've been trying to do personally is kind of, because of this sort of tendency now for me to look at people's running and see how they're getting on and make judgments on it for the coaching. I'm just kind of weighing it up, see where she's at. She's doing really, really well. She's got a good level of fitness. A 5K times are pretty decent. And again, without sort of encouraging people to do things they shouldn't. The ideal time for a half marathon is 12 weeks if you've got a level of fitness. But people tend to start from scratch and do it in 12 weeks, if they haven't got that goal, that aim, literally if the goal is to get through it, there's absolutely no problem with starting from scratch and training. You might make slight adjustments to your diet and not drink so much alcohol or fizzy drinks or those kind of things. That will all support along the way. But if you've got a good level of fitness, what we're talking now, sort of 4.5 weeks, it's possible. What I would say is try and get out at least 3-4 times a week from now. Stick to your 5Ks, but drop some 10Ks in, 7, 8, 9 miles, if you can run 10 miles by the week before, and then you allow yourself a little bit of time to taper, you can definitely get through it. Again, you might not sort of absolutely smash it in terms of a time, and if you've got big aspirations with that, it's going to be difficult. But the reality is, you'll be able to get through a half marathon with a decent level of fitness. And having seen Melody take part, she's definitely sort of got that, but of course there's lots of work to put in at the same time, there's lots of work to do, and it's just a case of trying to increase that mileage, but again, without doing it in a way that's going to be detrimental going forward. Keep banging out those 5Ks, add a few longer ones in, and before you know it, you'll be feeling a lot more confident. Another sort of side issue to that, she'd asked the question about, do people walk in half marathons? Absolutely. It's a distance at the end of the day, isn't it? We all, of course, as runners, we all like to do it as quick as we can. We like a PB, but there's no need to have this snobbery around it, is there? Everybody who's doing it is achieving something. I talk a lot about how important walking is to me and how important it is to sort of keeping my base level of fitness. And there's lots of people who are not the stage of running. The Couch to 5K I spoke about, there's a lot of walking involved in that. So if you're getting towards the latter stages of it, I think everybody at some point, even the most experienced runners, have walked at a stage in an event. We don't like to admit it. We'd like to feel we're strong enough to get all the way through. But the reality is it happens quite a lot. So there's no shame in it, and once you've got that medal around your neck, which you're celebrating with people around you and your friends and family saying nice things, it doesn't really matter, because you've done 13.1 miles more than you would have if you'd not signed up for it in the first place. And I think that's important to remember. It's really sort of key not to get too bogged down in how quick or whether you ran it all, particularly when you're considering your first events or you're not in a absolutely fantastic place. I was proud of the fact that every half marathon I did for about the first 10 or 11, I did it inside 2 hours, which is brilliant, absolutely fantastic. I did my PB at the Great North Runs on 47. I'm not the quickest runner in the world. I never got to those sort of superhuman times, but I was quite proud of that fact. But then the reality is, I still get so much from taking part in these events. I spoke a lot about those individually and what I can take from them going forward if I'm not in the best place I need to be or the most fittest I've ever been. So it's important just to remember it's an achievement regardless, Crossing that line is an amazing feeling, and it's kind of the drug that we all get addicted to as runners. We really enjoy that finishing feeling, and that's what it's all about. So good luck with that if you're going to commit to it, and I'll be watching on as we go. And I mentioned right at the start there, Doors on board. He's actually posted his question in. This weekend, you'd have heard me talk about football a lot, and I always say I try not to let it spill into this too much, but it's a massive part of my life. This is my vlog. This is what I do. One of the things I'm really looking forward to, and perhaps one of the reasons I'm a little bit apprehensive as well, and trying to sort of distract myself from it, is Forest play Derby, big local rivals, really, really big in football terms. People are probably like, oh, whatever. But this is must win. Forest are absolutely rubbish at the moment, getting stuffed every week. Derby are not a great deal better. It was expected to be the other way around, and we was full of confidence that we'd walk all over them this season, but it's not turning out like that. So really sort of apprehensive, but as ever, really, really looking forward to it. It's going to dominate my weekend tomorrow. I'll be getting excited, singing all the songs. Kay's rolling her eyes as I say it. She's so I'm going to be sort of full of it from this point in. It's really going to pick me up and really going to get me going. Whether I'll be the same after the weekend, who knows? How am I feeling? Sorry, but on the back of that question, Steve also asked, I thought somebody had asked me about Derby this week. What do you think the score would be? So I've just let you know through Door's question how I feel about it. A little bit concerned. Was confident, not so much anymore. In terms of the score, I'm often on Mr. Door's channel, who does a football vlog, and been on that. Spoke about the Derby game quite a lot this week. I've said when I've been on there, it's going to be 1-1. It's always 1-1. How many local derbies in football end 1-1? What I think happens is a team will start well, one won't start so well. Somebody pokes the noses in front, gets the first goal, and then they get a little bit worried about losing that lead. But what they do is withdraw. The other team have to go for it and eventually break them down, and it becomes a bit of a cat and mouse affair. And that's what local derbies are all about, aren't they? Like I say, whilst I'm worried about getting beat, form books go out the window in local derbies, and in all the time I've been watching football, which is a long, long time now, 30 years, 1-1 is always likely to be the score. I'd say 50% of the games end 1-1, and that's quite a high number, isn't it, when you consider every other football score you can have, and teams are doing well and teams aren't doing so well. So I'd imagine 1-1. That's what I always go for in these things. Never confident enough to bet on it. But then after the occasion, I always think, I wish I did a little bet on that. So that's what I reckon to the game this weekend. Looking forward again to going to Pride Park. It's always the one that stands out for both Forest and Derby fans. I'm sure it'll be a sellout, even though they've got their own issues. I know Forest have sold out their allocation, so it's going to be intense. It's going to get all those, stir up all those emotions. I said earlier in the week that we're creases of emotion, and that's all football's about. It's just about sort of really letting yourself go for a bit. It's my time out. It's the time where I probably don't follow any of the rules I try to live by throughout the week, but I'm really, really looking forward to it. And what I want to do today is kind of ask a question based around rivals. So the throwback question is, who are your rivals? And when I say this, I don't mean who do you hate, who do you want to sort of, well, who do you hate, and I don't necessarily mean in football terms either. Sometimes rivalry is good. It creates positive environments. I mentioned Mr. Dawes' channel there. Both of us this week have been speaking to Derby fans, because we do this kind of thing. And that's a good thing, isn't it? You mix in, you communicate, and we say the rest of the time we don't want to talk to them, but it's creating good sort of positive conversation, and making people realise that there's a little bit more to the match than just sort of hating somebody who lives 15 miles down the road. But what I kind of wanted to ask is, who are your rivals in whatever you consider? What it can do sometimes, having a rivalry, is spur us on. It can be friendly, it's healthy, banter, like I say, creating this communication. I did a charity event for prostate cancer a couple of years ago, where I got fans from both sides running from one ground to another before the game. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm still connected with some of those, good friends with some of the Derby fans there. So there's ways it can all come together. But like I say, what I just want to know is, who are your friendly rivals? I don't want this to be a negative. Who do you consider the enemy? It could be, when I say not necessarily football, it could be like music bands, or somebody you just irrationally don't like. I think back to when I was young, it was all, are you Oasis or Blur? And I was definitely in the Oasis camp. Wasn't a keen, didn't really like any Blur songs, purely because I liked Oasis, and looking back now, they did some really good songs. So we all have that little bit of irrational hatred for our rivals, but in the most positive way. Who are your rivals? Please comment below, and comment on any of the questions, anything I've said, if it made sense or didn't make sense, let me know. I'm still struggling through these, still trying my best, to do whatever I absolutely can. I absolutely love it. But Kay's just posted in there from somewhere in the house. I'm not sure where she is at the moment. Good question, one to ponder over the weekend. Yeah, really sort of looking forward to getting responses. Like I say, going back to what I was saying there, this is all sort of still a learning curve. It's really difficult, but it's great, isn't it? Just to do these things. I've been watching on what other people do and watching them grow, and this really inspires me. Touched on what the guys have been doing out by the river tonight in the running. Absolutely brilliant. Taking so much from sort of all these distractions I've spoke about this week. It's kind of been the theme, hasn't it? And I'll be back tomorrow, sort of going more in depth about all these things that have happened this week. What's been the theme of the week? How we can use getting up to wake up to walk to be really positive and attack a weekend. Come to terms with everything that's going on again. Use it as another check-in. Every day's a check-in on DOdaily, but what I like to do is almost use a Monday to sort of evaluate that and think, this is time to move forward. Use Friday to think, that was good, I can take that forward. That was bad, I'll leave that behind. And then I switch off slightly for the weekend, switch off from sort of thinking about all this improvement and get involved in stuff like going to Derby away, and all the craziness that comes with that. So if you've got anything to ask, I'd really, really appreciate it. Any of those comments, if you don't want to make it on the videos or any of the social media posts, please email des@dorunning.org.uk. I'll pick them up, and I'll give it a good go. Like I said right at the start, I love doing this. I'm out of my comfort zone. It's been a bit sketchy today. I feel I'm my own biggest critic with it. But, we go again, don't we? And that's what it's all about. I'll keep answering your questions the best way I can. I'm sure there's some good sound bits of advice in there. All of it has been given to me at some point. I'm not trying to be clever there, but I know some of it works and it's important. And the reason I know it works is because I've lived it, and I've had to listen. And that's all I'm trying to encourage people to do here. Like I say, lots of running stuff there, and I'm sure in the coming weeks there'll be lots more with all those events I spoke about and knowing people who are taking part. But if you've got any questions about anything else, the way I'm feeling, really sort of experienced a roller coaster of a time in this last few weeks. 2-3 weeks ago, I was flying. I was up here. I was really sort of just sort of smashing everything, it felt. And then life happens, doesn't it? It gets in the way, and things distract you, and that's definitely been the theme. But whilst it's all about dealing with those and pushing on, you know, we can have a good time, we can be positive and enthusiastic. So until the morning, guys, have a great evening. Check out those links at the bottom of the page. You know, they've been scrolling across throughout. Get in touch. Let me know what you're thinking. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll be picking up the route of the Robin Hood Way to start off the bank holiday weekend as well. I've not mentioned that yet. Lots and lots planned. It's going to be an amazing one. I'll have more details about that. Let you know what I'm doing, how I'm going to make the most of it, how I'm doing lots with other people. You know, I'm really, really enjoying the things I do. Hopefully to inspire other people to be the same. So until tomorrow, guys, just doing it.